So what a dichotomy we have. Nobody wants it in their backyard. So, but let's think about this. This is the one thing CBS, at least they're talking, the rest of them aren't. So I used to wear a hat around, it says Yucca Mountain, the best of the worst options. There are no good options. None. Well, let's keep making more then, huh? Why don't we just keep making more? It's a thing what we do not use. It was a fairy tale from the beginning. We don't use it. Chernobyl should have been the end. Fukushima should have been the end on Balcom. So they just go into, you know, to protect. Look, the cover-up of Fukushima inside the Obama administration, inside the Trump administration, is not to protect this country from panic. It's to protect the economic interest of people like Bill Gates. You know, all these people got their fingers in it. So this waste is spent in these spent fuel pools. These things were never sent. Tick-tock, Diablo Canyon clock. So back to the Chernobyl dynamic. So Chernobyl, you watch the documentary, which is a masterpiece. It's an absolute historical masterpiece, and nobody knows more about Chernobyl in this part of the world than me. It's on the money, I'm here to tell you. You can see these propaganda machines, Jeff Bezos' daddy, you know, the nuclear physicist from Los Alamos. Look it up. These Washington Post, New York Times, RT, all of them, A to Z, have gone after it. Why have they gone after it? Because they're the powers there be. Somebody says, oh, it's Illuminati. I hate that term, Illuminati. They don't illuminate. They're a bunch of old world order oligarchs that Trump's related to. You know, and Obama was their good puppet. So you just bow to them. Well, I wonder what. Just like I'm fighting out here. Utah, the biggest issue there is. You got me. It's me. Think about this. I'm in San Diego. I'm all over. Full of cancer, with no money, grassrooters. Been blackballed from the university for standing up to this machine. So, I mean, that's the way he wants it. That's the way he gets it. So, on the good side, of course, the waste at San Onofre's it's going to be leaving. I'm here to tell you, it's going to Texas. So the NRC permit has not been approved, but I've been told behind scenes, and I always get everything first, that they're going to approve it. I already know they're going to approve it. I've already been told that at the highest level. So, let's think about this. You got this clean green, too cheap to meter nightmares laying around all over this country, full of spent fuel pools with now 800,000 tons alone of the highest, most radioactive. So when Chernobyl blew up, you saw the video, you saw how it played out. Oh, they were cheating because the Russians were too cheap. Oh no. You know, that's a part of it. We did the same thing here. The reactors of Fukushima, Japan, are Mach 1, Mach 2s, which floor construction, Utah, this university built. This is what this university is. They built them. They cheated. They cheated. They cut corners on money, just like they did in freaking Chernobyl. Same players, same people, same builders. Rostown, I mean, they're the same people. They cheat. There's 42 of them in the United States. 42, including San Onofre. TikTok. San Onofre had an accident in January of 2012. I'm the guy that reported it from the top of the East State Bone Marrow Transplant Center, dying of leukemia. What shut down San Onofre? Which is marquee, was the timing of my cancer. It's really that simple. I mean, without my cancer, they would have arrested me, they would have done anything, but I had a lot of political cover. I had Kamala Harris on my side. Everything was, I'm the one that was leaking to them. You know, and I had the field in those days. I mean, my YouTube sites were getting hundreds of thousands of views a day. You know, they squashed my view count, it don't matter. The cat got out of the bag. So Chernobyl. Now, so the Russians come back out now and says, well, we're going to do another documentary similar to the HBO masterpiece, but we're going to talk about, we believe the CIA blew it. Which I've always said that. I think I can almost prove it.
Wow.
So, now, if you think that's far-fetched, you know nothing about the Cold War. You know nothing about the history of this country. Zero. So let's go back to the beginning. Manhattan Project. Einstein said it was his biggest mistake when Leo the Lizard freaking talked him into, you know, writing the letter. Einstein was the most famous person on earth when he wrote that handwritten letter to FDR. FDR panicked. You know, Hitler's got it. Hitler never had it. They opened up the faucet, unlimited sums of money, including Wendover, Utah, the Enola Gay hangar. The Manhattan Project was born. Unlimited sums of money. They never shut it off. So, the Cold War, to drop the bombs at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and these are not my words, these are Oppenheimer's, which I knew Frank Oppenheimer. They wanted a test bomb. Now just remember Fermi, you know, who I still say that's Bezos' dad. When they dropped Trinity, the test bomb, in New Mexico, they all had dollar bets. And Fermi says, I bet it kills everybody in New Mexico. And he wasn't kidding. They did it anyway. So they're like, drop a test bomb. Drop a test bomb and scare them. So, no. All Hiroshima and Nagasaki was to flex the muscle against the Russians. This came down to one group of oligarchs fighting against another group of oligarchs. Same old, New world order, no, old world order. So this was right at the Russians. I thought the U.S. and the Russians fought side by side against the Germans. Oh, they did. But then this became dividing up the world. So they flexed at the Russians. That's what those bombs were. Hoover, the great conservative, Hoover, he went psycho harder than anyone on Truman. Where did they find Truman? I thought Wallace was going to be the guy. They bought him. Trump reminds me a lot of Truman, by the way. God, beyond creepy. So, they dropped those two bombs. Hoover's like, never in the history of warfare have you indiscretionally, non-uniformed civilians just mass murder. You've changed the world for. This is the most disgusting act. The Christian community went more psycho than anyone. Dorothy Day, look up her rants. Truman, I hope the jet stream is new. I hope their burnt bodies suck into your nose and go to your brain and kill you and send you to hell. That's Dorothy Day. The Christian rights workers, all the people of faith went psycho. They knew it changed everything. They knew this was the most evil act in human history. And I hear people all the time, they should have dropped 300, these arrogant freaking fools. The war was over. The war was over. This was going against Russia. The Cold War, I'm telling you, win the Cold War at any cost. Oppenheimer backed out. Eisenhower backed out. Sokolov, look him up, Zarbaba. They all backed out. They become hardcore peace activists. I was so heavily involved in this, on this campus, and at Berkeley, all over the country. This campus was paramount in the anti-nuclear bomb movement. We knew people like, personally, a lot of these guys, because we'd show up to the different events, the bookstores, whatever, these people, all these guys talk about death threats reports, but they'd just cry when they showed up. They knew it was the biggest mistake in history. So, you don't think that they blew up Chernobyl? You're a fool, and I'll tell you why. Win at any cost. So they find a guy named Edward Teller. Who's Edward Teller? Googling. I call him the Mad Hungarian. They're all from the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. All of them. All the nuclear physicists. Every one of them. They all went to the same school. Einstein broke rights. Einstein was a peace activist. Remember, he was a Quaker? German revivalist, which was very much the roots of Mormonism. So, win the Cold War at any cost. And if you don't think 350 open-air tests in Nevada, just bombarding southern Utah, how about the decision Teller made? So they find Teller. He wants to nuke everything and anything. Nuclear to build dams, nuclear to build roads, nuclear. By the way, some of the roads in Chicago are built on nuclear waste out of the reactors. That's a fact. University of Chicago, found McCabe Brody from here. All roads lead there. So, the Cold War, my father, famous guy in this town, Dwayne Blanch was his name, drafted Marine. So if you don't think they're capable of blowing a reactor, just think about this. They took their own United States Marines. The United States government, Teller did it. They put them in cages in the Nevada test site, right next to the bomb, and they nuked them. Their own men. And you think a few men? Air Blast 1 and Air Blast 2 killed my father. Later. And then he died in the prime of his life, leukemia. Now I have it. Now his little great-grandson at 3 is fighting for his life with the same thing. At Primary Children's. 40,000 United States Marines they did this to. They all died. There's very few left alive. And if you count, you see the videos out there, there's stuff. Those are Army support personnel that came in after. 60,000 of those. But the Marines all were killed. So if you don't think they're capable of blowing up Chernobyl, you know nothing about the Cold War. This was at any cost against each other. Anybody that grew up in this area, you should know better that that's the case. So there was lots of rumors flying around. Now you watch the documentary, the madman that was running the reactor, the arrogance. There was lots of rumors that the CIA had gotten to him. Lots of rumors. They pushed the button. They did everything right. It still blew up, didn't it? So this thesis was paramount in this country in the 86, 87, 88. This was not far-fetched. I mean, anybody with any logic and reason was like, they really did do it. The CIA blew this thing. And if you didn't think it was successful to killing so-called the Soviet Union, Gorbachev himself said that was the end of the Soviet Union. It was the Chernobyl accident. And isn't that what the whole goal was with these madmen? Yeah. So Teller was asked. Teller didn't die till 2002 or 3, I believe. Scumbag. He's buried next to Stanford at Stanford. This guy was a madman. If you don't believe any of this, you know, maybe you should talk to the most famous professor, one of them in the country, whose name is Dr. Scheer, Robert Scheer, who I know personally. He says the same thing I say. You're talking, he's an old, wisdom-wise, probably the most famous professor in the United States right now. He says exactly what I say. He knew Teller personally, really personally. He was in the hot room at Livermore with him multiple times. Edward Teller was asked, well, there's a lot of people who think that you blew Chernobyl, that you caused Chernobyl, that you did this, that you radiated and poisoned, if not killed millions, if not trillions of billions for time and all eternity with your nuclear madman, and you did Chernobyl. You know what his reply was? He says, well, I really don't care about any of that. All I care is that we defeated those Russians. That was his exact words. He never denied it. Never. And I think anybody with half a logical brain, and you know, I spent a lot of time in Austria, and you know, they're the most anti-nuclear people in the world. They all think this. And so if you think that's far-fetched and crazy, and I love it how inside there's innuendo with replies of this incredible documentary that, oh, it was just because it was communism. What's the word commune mean? You're a good old Catholic boy, right? What's the word commune mean? You know, communist, which the Christian commune, the Mormon communist, it means share. Common means share. That's what Mormon was based on. That was it's the word is derived, it means share. Period. So, you think that was communism that was going in the Soviet Union? That was not communism. You know, Marx, Engels, no. That was militarism. Very similar to what's going on now. All the money was being sucked into the military beast. You know, cutting corners on everything. What do you think they do here? What do you think they do here? What do you think these reactors, they cheat. I mean, they cheated on these. There's 42 of them here. The ones that blew up at Fukushima. The exact identical freaking reactor of Fukushima. There's 42 in the United States. And how can anybody rightfully watch this and understand and think that Chernobyl was somehow worse than Fukushima? Chernobyl, one. Hear me. One partially fueled reactor. Blew up. You saw the doctor, you see what it could, and it's all that, then some, the catastrophe, the mass murder that is. Now, Pravad, who I stay with in Austria, who is from India, the great activist. There's so many of the activists from Russia, they hide in Vienna. Putin kills them. In India, they kill them. The nuclear industry goes after them. Austria gives them political asylum. Austria is the most anti-nuclear people in the world, probably because of one person, Frieda Meisblau. Frieda Meisblau grew up in the same town as Hitler, knew Hitler. She had to sneak out on her hands and knees. She stood up to him. When she got back, she went around the country and she promoted. They were building a nuclear reactor there. You can go in there. I mean, I'll be in there soon. It's a bar. It never got fueled because of her. I was at her house on the 200th anniversary of Waterloo. You should have heard the lecture she gave me. She was dying of cancer. She didn't tell anybody. That's why she requested that I come. She says, Kevin Blanch, I know your story. I know your father said you're the tip of the spear. Don't you drop this spear. You never picked this. I never picked it. It picked you. And I know now, she died later that year. She had cancer. She didn't tell anybody. When she died, the president and the ex-president spoke at her freaking funeral. This is how powerful, head of the Green Party. The people in Austria are so anti-nuclear energy, it blow your mind. They start teaching it as little kids because they get it. That, you know, it took them a lot of pain and blood they went through. You think about the whole dichotomy, and they live right there in that part of the world. Talk to them about Chernobyl. Go look at the, they call them Chernobyl necklaces. Here we used to call them Utah smiley face. That's your thyroid cut out. How many of you females have had that done? What do you think that is? You think that's normal? Breast cancer is normal? Prostate cancer? No. No, this is all post-bomb. Nuclearism. Throw it in with a little radio Monsanto Roundup, and what do you got? It's wonder any of us are alive. American toxic. So the American populace refuses to deal with nuclear waste. They refuse. They refuse because I've come to my conclusion on Fukushima because they circled the wagons on me. They went after me. I mean, as the activist, I mean, I had the whole field. I could tell somebody doesn't blow your mind. You know, World Health Organization, I.A.A., I mean, all over the world, full of cancer, dying, walking the coast, dead tide pools at your feet. It's amazing, but I've come to the conclusion. It's like this. In the Battle of Chernobyl, he says, excuse me, in the HBO documentary, how did they pull this off? Well, first, the lie. But you have to have a populace that's willing to go along with the lie. What do you think Fukushima is? You all know. You all know. You're willing to go because it's like a woman told me that I know, that an activist, she told me a long time, Kevin, I was molested when I was a child by my own father. That's what Fukushima is. And I says, yeah, I agree with you. I would never talk about it. I'll talk about it with you secretly because you're the activist and I trust you. But it's always there, but I'm never going to talk about it. I'm never going to bring it to the forefront of the consciousness. It's too hard. That's what Fukushima is. That's exactly what it is. One partially fueled reactor blew up at Chernobyl, and it's all that, then some, this catastrophe that gives on gives. Fukushima. 3 reactors at the course blew up. They didn't just, they blew up. They dumped water on it, pushed into the Pacific Ocean. It's everything Chernobyl. So 3 fully fueled reactors. 1, 2, 3, and 4 spent fuel pools cracked. They went into what we call zirc fires, Western zirconium. What's a zirc fire? The zirconium rods rub together. They catch fire when they lose cooling. They have to stay cool. And this is important. Freedom of Eisenhower's last words to me, Kevin Blanch. Kevin, I want to ask you a question. Do you know that a nuclear reactor takes more energy in this era to stay open than they produce? And I says, yeah, it's called cooled spent fuel pool. The spent fuel pools have to stay cool. How do they keep them cool? With energy. So they're spending all their energy to keep their spent fuel pools cool because there's that much waste piling up. So at Fukushima, the spent fuel pools, which hundreds and hundreds of thousands of tons of pounds, including the experimental MOX fuel from Savannah River, was in number 3. It was there. It was there. What's MOX fuel? MOX fuel is nuclear waste that they throw oxygen into. It's a process. Basically, they do it right out at Little Mountain. That makes it all even hundreds of thousands times even stronger. It turns it into weapon grade. They can make nuclear bombs out of. Unit 3 was plumb full of it. The spent fuel pools cracked immediately. The water ran out. These spent fuel pools fused together. Those are meltdowns by definition. They blew to smithereens. 4, 3, 2, 1, all of them, and probably 5 and 6 also, and 7, which I've reported on 5 and 6 as experimental reactors. We had a live cam on. You can watch the live cam. It blew up again. Blew up in June of 20. I'm the guy that found that. Put it all over, and yet how can you logically anyone watch a commentary say, "Hey, well, Fukushima's like." Fukushima is millions of Chernobyls. Their answer's been dumping into the Pacific Ocean. So I hypothesized that the Pacific Ocean would collapse from it. Well, has it? Oh, yeah. First you hypothesize the knowledge as a great scientist. Then you do the field work. It's going to give you cancer. I got cancer right here on this pond. At Weber State, I announced that to the world. You know, look at the videos in the early days, the day it happened. I mean, I called all this after the day. Then I go do the work. 8 years of field work, walking the coast of California, proving you to the tide pools have collapsed acutely, proving you to the wells have collapsed. You think these starving to death wells is just coincidence? Starving dead tide pools, coincidence? How about the salmon collapse? We count all salmon. Record returns in 2015. They go to sea for 5 years, Chinook salmon. Record returns, the fish that went there. Now they're fine. It took me a year and a half to convince anybody this was one meltdown, even though you could see it with your own eyes. This is the greatest ecological catastrophe in human history. The cover-up is the greatest crime in human history. Yet we won't even deal with the nuclear waste. Well, the first step to deal with nuclear waste is stop making more. Yet you're going to bail them out. Ohio just bailed them out. New Jersey bailed them out. New York bailed them out. And it was basically me fighting them in those states, relying on grassroots funded money. You know, when I went to this university, I was an honor student. I was one of the first BIS students. I'd jump into classrooms, and I didn't take enough courses just to get a degree. I took a broad-based, I mean, you go pull my transcript, see how many freaking credits I have. I have enough for 15 degrees because I kept educating myself in a broad context. I didn't want to be one of these guys who know a little bit about a lot. I want to know a lot about a lot, which takes a long time and hard work. So, the nuclear waste thesis. How much time we got left, man? A few minutes?
10 minutes, yeah.
So, it's the #1 story in the world. You in Utah, you'll protest. I mean, it's like in Portland. They'll have a protest all over the world. God gay's gun, God gay's gun. Well, I'm all for that. I understand that. I agree with your protest. And I love anybody who's got the guts to go. And I support all those people. If you haven't watched my videos, when there's a protest here, I show up. I video and I support all causes. They don't support me. I don't see enemies. I'm out at Energy Solutions, freaking fighting with them. Me and Deb, the neurosurgeon, the local neurosurgeon. I'm full of cancer. You know, we're with Geiger counters. Hey, this nuclear reactor's hot. They had to build a special truck from it. It's illegally being part. I've gone at Governor Herbury. I've gone at freaking Mike Lee to their face. You know how much kind of risks I take? While I'm sick, while I'm full of cancer, given 2 months to live 7 years ago. What a story. Oh my God, what a story. My bill only $1.8 million. I was given 2 months to live. Go talk to my doctors. Go up the top of LDS. Go talk to any of them. They'll say Kevin Blanch is the biggest walking, talking miracle that's ever, you know, go talk to Vincent, who's related to the prophet of the Mormon Church right now. Go talk to him. I know him. You know, he's a heart surgeon. You ought to hear him. He sounds like me lately, rocking the boat. He's, you know, no, we're Jesus Christ. What, that crazy activist who was, you know, long-haired guy who went into the temple and tipped the tables over? I mean, what's the most usury thing in the world? Cancer, nuclear fallout, environmental poisoning, because you can't avoid it. And I call it the great equalizer. You know, these oligarchs, they think, oh, they got a pill. They, you know, they have their own bunkers. They're going to work on. Then, you know, speaking of Damien here from this cancer, Lillard, who's the owner of that team, the Portland Trailblazers? Paul Allen, Bill Gates' partner. $30 billion was his net worth. What did he just die from? Why didn't he take his pill, these elites? You're talking one of the richest men in the freaking world. It kills rich people, too. It's a great equalizer. So, you know, we keep kicking the can. Now, I used to wear this hat around that says Yucca Mountain, the worst, best option. You know, and I still say put it in W.I.P.P or Yucca Mountain, centrally locate it, but then that's not the end. As I say to start this show, Eastern apathy, centrally located, and I'm still shooting into space guy. And you don't think we can do that? We already did. In 1997, I was at Cape Canaveral. We loaded up a big old load of plutonium, the worst of the worst, onto a rocket. Me and Miko Kako were arguing with each other right there. Miko's, don't do it, it could blow up. I says, Harry Reid worked at thiacol then. I says, well, yeah, there's a chance it blows up. You know, that's who did the Challenger. That's who blew up the Challenger, was thiacol's ring.
Wow.
That's where they made the rocket boosters at thiacol. Harry Reid worked there. Maybe that's why Harry Reid's always been against shooting into space. He's got cancer now, and now he's suing for his bracelet gave him cancer. But he grew up right under the shadow of 350 open-air tests. Hello, Harry. Wake up. You're smarter than that. You know what gave you cancer. So, we shot it into space. Took 20 years. We shot it into Saturn. Oh, it worked. Got there in 2017. By the way, on Earth Day. And so it worked. Now, I know that's a crazy idea. It's a dangerous idea. But it's a lot better idea than leaving it in spent fuel pools on TikTok. I can tell you, Chernobyl happened, Fukushima, as I call it, the nuclear vagina, the nuclear triangle, the birthplace. Not in a sexual context, in the womb where it comes out. In an anatomy, my context. So we had the major meltdown at Chernobyl. Devastated that place. Still to this day. Fukushima. By the way, Rakata Iki, you can Google her, the most famous athlete in the world right now. I got some more pictures of her yesterday.
Awesome.
She weighs 70 pounds. She's about this big around.
Oh,
I mean, she's on death's doorstep right now. She's full of leukemia. If you do not think that that leukemia is correlated to Fukushima, you are a fool. Born and raised, by the way, born on 4th of July. You know, so she had 525,000 Twitter followers. They shut that off. They've got the wagons, so they have State Secrets Act. This is the greatest cover-up in human history. The greatest crime is the cover-up. Obama and Trump have both gone along. Why? Because the nuclear industry has all the money. And I guess the money is the power. They'll kill themselves. So this whole thought process, why are we still making more? Oh, we can't source oil. Yes, we can. Go to places like Denmark where it's dark 6 months a year. They've done it. They've done it. They're almost completely alternative. I mean, wind, 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 wind. Solar, solar, solar. But there's another piece to it. They've stopped consuming. Even they weren't big consumers anyway, but they've consumed less. That's all over Europe. You go to Europe, they call us consumption junkies, rightfully so. We consume 46% of the world's product right now. We make up less than 4% of the world's product. Always been that? Nope. 1980 was 12%. We broke the record every year, just like we broke the record for decreasing nominal wages for 40 straight years, 1970. We are family. Fleetwood Mac on the wall, rumors. That's 1978. There's Bowie. He's the only celebrity that ever showed up to one of my events. He showed up to my event in Washington Square. He gave me some money, too, that day. He died not long after that. You know, so 79, the capitulation to the art, the culture, the cars. How about the cars? That's 79 right there. Candy-O, I need you. How about this song? It's all I can do to keep waiting for you. You know who that is?
Yep.
You know who wrote that song? Benjamin Orr.
Ben Orr. He
You know,
passed?
of exactly what I have. You know how long he was sick? You know how old he was?
No.
I think he was 51.
Wow.
And you know how long he got sick in his guts? It was leukemia. He died in weeks.
Wow.
I mean, so, and we see these stories constantly, these celebrities dying of leukemia. That's just because those are the ones that get reported. It's like in Japan, Ricardo Ike. Why that big story? There are millions of Ricardo Ikes, but she's famous. So it makes headlines when someone famous dies. So, let me start this over. It only goes to 30 and then... So, this whole dynamic that somehow Fukushima is thousands of Chernobyls. The biggest elephant in the room? No. It's the pot of dead gray wells in the room. Is nuclear. Yet we keep throwing more because it's where all the money's at. And they keep going. So Utah's bringing it in. Idaho's bringing it. I was just out there. It's already happening. Now they won't let me put up videos because, you know, they're watching me. I'm talking to them. But I had binoculars and I zoomed in. It's already being buried there right now. Today. I was just out there. That's me. I mean, no media, everybody, oh, because I use the F word. If you knew what I knew, you'd be a little more angry than I would. You know, but not to mention that I've got leukemia fighting for my life.